Let's move on to another sort of critical and recent verdict, the same-sex marriage case. Now, this is very, very interesting because it first, I think, came before you as an issue when you were at the Delhi High Court. However, you and the Chief Justice, notwithstanding your recognition that same sex couples have the right to a civil union, including the right to adopt a child, were outvoted on that matter by three other judges. All five of you argued that there is no fundamental right to marriage within the Constitution, and therefore the Special Marriage Act cannot be read in such a way that it now applies to same sex marriages. In other words, i.e., this is now the Parliament's ambit. Do you feel disappointed? It seemed to a lot of millions of Indians that the Supreme Court would have gone further than all of you did with respect.
So let's see how it began. 2001, it came up before me. It's been a long journey for this section of society. Social norms at times take longer to change. The acceptance takes longer to change. Sometimes law increases the pace, as has happened, say, in laws relating to women, as it is said in relating to succession and other aspects under the Hindu law. Sometimes the society makes the law to change. So the journey which initially that matter went through was up and down to the Supreme Court, till in different nuances it finally came to where it was. And really speaking, in the privacy judgment, where four judges authored, Justice Chandrachud authored it, and I was supporting a judgment. Five judges had already talked about this right to privacy in this behalf. So, in a way, the issue was technically may not be over, but was over with the privacy judgment. And then the final judgment came. This was the next stage of social evolution, of recognizing a marriage. Now, no law recognized that marriage. What to do? There are issues which this section of society takes. Legislation is certainly a way forward. But when legislations don't exist, what is the interim period to be done? I felt, and the chief felt, that recognizing a civil union, giving similarity of rights, would subserve the purpose to a large extent, and then the way forward would be ultimate legislation. Three judges did not agree with it. Well, minority judgments are always said to be a call to the future. Many cases where minority judgments have later found favor as the majority judgments have occurred. So I believe this is a social churning process. Maybe it was felt in some sectors that the country was not ready for it. Maybe the parliament has not enacted it. I am hopeful that in years to come, this view would find favor.
In a way, already, if you look back at the fact that the Supreme Court once upon a time spoke of the LGBTQAI community being a minority, I think it was Justice Singhvi's judgment. Today we have this judgment, and you're saying this minority view by you and Chief Justice Chandrachud. You believe sooner or later a time will come when a future bench will rule differently.
I think so. I think the society, it will be affected by a social change which is already taking place. The thinking of the younger generation is different from the thinking of the older generation on this aspect. I'm sure you would realize this when you talk to the younger set of people. When I talk to the younger set of people, my children's perception would be very different on how this issue has to be dealt with.
Were
So I feel as
generation, were your children disappointed at the dining table that dad didn't go far enough?
Maybe.
Well,
but that's a generational issue.
Absolutely. No, I think there's a lot of important observations by you and the Chief Justice in particular. Also, in recognizing your own comment was that non-heterosexual relationships are integral part of Indian culture. Now, this in particular, I think, was a very important comment, because often there's a kind of puritanical or orthodox religious argument against this. So I just want you to talk about this part of your own judgment.
So this emanates from my experience in the judiciary, that often we said that X or Y doesn't belong to this country. It's a Western notion. But if you look to the history of this country and the area we are proud of, undisputedly proud of, is the first 1200 years. We've had the Mughal rule, the British rule. I believe what is Victorian philosophy is often passed off as that this was the history of the country, while our thought process is very different. Look at our statues, look at our temples, look at what is around. Is it not a reflection of what the country stood for, what the culture of the country stood for? I think it's one of the most liberal processes which existed in our country. And slowly a movement when you talk about recognizing our culture, recognizing our thought processes, bringing them into the fore, this will come into the fore that we were an extremely liberal society, and that's what we should move towards.
Yeah, I think those are very important points. And as you said, I hope they pave the way for more concrete, even more concrete change. At your